What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning into another episode of my financial journal. Today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, mortgage forbearance. Now, this is very timely. This is like hot breaking news, fresh off the press about CARES Act and what the government is doing in terms of payroll relief, free money for small businesses, just sort of how things are going to work, even though there's just not a lot of definition yet, and banks are just totally overwhelmed with the applications for a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to be breaking it down into a couple of videos because this is kind of complicated stuff. The first thing we need to cover, though, that's so essential is the context here and why this is starting to smell so much like 2008. So 2008 was the global financial crisis. What happened essentially was banks were writing bad loans. They knew that the lendees of these loans would not be able to pay back these loans. So people with shitty credit, people who didn't have any credit, people who were just over leveraging to buy homes or multiple properties that they couldn't afford. So what happened was banks were taking these shitty loans and they were packaging them into mortgage-backed securities. Now, we're going to be hearing this again, so it's very important you understand what these are. Mortgage-backed securities, or CDOs, or collateralized debt obligations, as they call them, are basically products. They're shitty loans packaged together. So what happens when you take shitty loans that are not going to be able to pay back to the bank, they sort of retwist them, making them look like A loans or A rating loans when these are really subprime loans and worth complete dog shit. Now, why they're allowed to get away with this, or why they were allowed to get away with this, was because the banks controlled the ratings agencies. They had complete influence over them. So they were making sure that the ratings agencies would give these loans A ratings when they were not A, and then they would put them on the derivatives market. So aside from selling these products, they were also taking them and putting them on derivative markets, which were basically bets that were, think of it like Las Vegas. So if you've seen The Big Short, there's a perfect explanation of when Selena Gomez is in the casino and she's explaining what the bankers would do with these subprime loans in the derivative market.
Okay, so here's how a synthetic CDO works. Let's say I bet 10 million on a blackjack hand.
10 million because this hand is meant to represent a single mortgage bond. Okay, Selena has a pretty good hand here, showing 18, dealer showing 7. That's a really good hand for Selena. Good odds. In fact, her chances of winning this hand are 87%.
So, my odds are good. I'm on a winning streak. Everybody in this place wants to get in on the action. How could I lose, right?
Now, this is a classic error. In basketball, it's called the hot hand fallacy. A player makes a bunch of shots in a row. People are sure they're going to make the next one. People think whatever's happening now is going to continue to happen into the future. During the real estate boom, markets were going up and up, and people thought they would never go down.
So people who are watching and think that I won't lose will make a side bet. Now, this is the first synthetic CDO.
I love Selena Gomez. I bet you 50 million she wins, and I'll give you a 3-to-1 odds.
3-to-1 odds? Okay, I'll take that bet.
Now, somebody else is going to want to make a bet on the outcome of their
Bet you
bet.
50 million she wins.
That will lead to synthetic CDO number 2.
Hey, I bet you 200 million that lady in the glasses wins that bet.
She probably will win, so I want a great payoff.
How about 21?
Deal.
And this will go on and on with more and more synthetic CDOs.
And we can transform an original $10 million investment into billions of dollars.
It's really, really wild stuff. So once things started to go a little bit south, Lehman Brothers was the first bank to collapse. That's when all of the banks started to freak out. The major players that started to realize that most of their books probably had a lot of the shitty debts on them, or shitty bank loans on them, or shitty products. Goldman Sachs, Citibank, and Bank of America all had to get bailouts from the Treasury. Hank Paulson had to facilitate these bailouts. Why? Because if you didn't bail out the banks, you probably would not have been able to take ATM out of the ATM machine that Monday. So they had to put this rescue plan together over a weekend in New York City to make sure the banks got a ridiculous amount of money so they could at least stay in operation. Now, why this is really important to know is because this time it's a little bit different. We were actually in one of the longest bull markets in history before COVID-19. The economy was doing really good. There was a lot of cash. Unemployment, we're at record lows, and people were paying all their debts. Now, we may see the snowball effect, which we probably will. When you stop paying your rent, when owners and people who have loans stop paying their mortgages, we will start creating a snowball effect. We'll also start seeing a lot of the unintended consequences that the Federal Reserve and the federal government are doing as part of this without really consulting a lot of the loan officers, the loan servicers, and the banks who aren't really prepared for this or didn't have a really big opportunity to do a lot of risk assessment about what happens when you shut down the global economy. Everybody stops paying rent, and then everybody stops paying mortgage. There will be things like bankruptcy and foreclosure. There will be things like debt restructuring and loan restructuring and refis and all that. But we're gonna get into that in another video. For now, let's focus on 2008. We're gonna be getting into the issue with mortgage-backed securities in 2020 in the next video. So focus on 2008 right now. Make sure to check out The Big Short. Inside Job is one of my favorite documentaries. Start reading and understanding the context before you start looking into what's now. I'll also post some relevant links in my description that might be helpful. So tune in to the next one.